Hello, listeners. Mallory Wilsey here, Chief Producer of the Enrollify Network. So, everyone is talking about AI these days, but not enough people are taking the time to unpack how AI will impact the future of higher education. And that's why we launched the Generation AI podcast, co-hosted by Artis Cadu, CEO of Element 451, and JC Bonilla, Chief Data Officer at VaynerMedia. Artis and JC have worked on large language models for nearly 2 decades and have remarkable technical knowledge around how they work and how generative AI will impact the future of higher ed. Generation AI isn't just about understanding artificial intelligence, it's about being part of the AI revolution in education. Tune in, get informed, and be inspired to innovate in your educational space with the power of artificial intelligence. You can subscribe to the show by visiting podcast.enrollify.org or just search Generation AI wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Confessions of a Higher Ed CMO, a podcast that empowers higher ed marketers to bring innovation, creativity, and excellence to their work. I'm your host, Jaime Hunt. Join me every 2 weeks for discussions with some of the best minds in higher education marketing. Confessions of a Higher Ed CMO is part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher educational professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. All right, so we are live from CUPRAP with Joe Master, who's on the board of directors. You're the vice president of CUPRAP, is that correct?
I am currently, yes.
Yeah, congratulations. And you are the managing director of brand strategy for R.W. Jones. Did I get that right?
That's correct.
I'm so happy.
The marketing is in there too, managing director of brand and marketing strategy.
Marketing. Nice. Yeah. And you've been there, what, almost a year, 9 months or so?
7 plus months.
Wow, yeah.
And it's been such a great experience.
You're building a marketing and branding branch for R.W. Jones, right?
We are. We've got a research. So the 3 things that we do research, strategy, and action. We've made some significant investments in research and building out brand strategy and brand development work as well. And it's been really rewarding.
That's awesome. Now, before that, you were with Ology.
I was.
And then you were on a campus. So tell us a little bit about your journey to get to where you are today.
Oh, man. I've been in higher ed since 2010 at this point. And this conference, CUPRAP, the boss who hired me into higher ed, emailed me before I started and said, you got to come to this conference. And I haven't missed one since. And I really can trace my career trajectory through the connections I've made through here, or at least tangentially through this conference.
Yeah.
And now I'm at a point where I'm watching it happen for others. And I'm saying that's what happened. But
yeah.
For me, the journey from in-house to out-of-house was just that once I started doing brand work at Drexel, I did some at Temple as well when I was at Temple, but really, really getting to execute a brand campaign and see something come to life like that. I wanted more.
Yeah.
I wanted to work with other brands. And then that's what led me on the journey.
That's awesome. Tell us about CUPRAP.
So we're an organization that started out as College and University Public Relations Association of Pennsylvania. Started as a Pennsylvania public relations organization. One of the founders was actually Dick Jones, who founded R.W. Jones Agency.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Right. And it has grown since then. Man, I do not have my numbers in front of me, but it's been, I believe, 40 plus years. And we added marketing, then the acronym, then we added institutions outside of Pennsylvania. So then the acronym changed to College and University Public Relations and Associated Professionals.
So you got to keep the acronym.
Recently, our board, we really looked inward and said, is is it working? Who are we as an organization? So we actually went through a brand strategy process.
That's awesome.
We did research. We had a session at last year's conference where we asked people to give us some feedback about who we are as an organization and does the acronym work? And we actually ditched it.
Really?
So now if you look at that, it's like Mensa. It's not CUPRAP as an acronym. It's CUPRAP, a professional community committed to advancing higher education and marketing communications. So that's why we're here. Professional development is, a hill I'll die on. And nothing gives me more satisfaction than seeing new people enter into higher ed and make those connections and then go on their journey. And you get to see the trajectory and the similarities and help people out and meet people like you and Mallory. And it's a gift.
I love this conference. This is my second time here. Last year
You crushed it last year too.
Thank you. I loved it. I had so much fun last year. And this year I partnered up with Mallory Wilsey and we talked about AI. It was a full session.
People were sitting on the floor. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It was too short.
It was. We could have talked all day about it. And it certainly is. Your session was I'd say the theme of the conference so far, I really think has been AI.
Yeah. So talk to me about AI. What are your takeaways?
Well, one thing that I want to do, I've got the tweet. I sent a tweet during the session of your mic drop, which was AI is not the future of technology. It's the technology of today that's shaping our future. And I loved that because the conversation about AI has been full of trepidation.
Yes.
Of people asking these philosophical questions about should we be using it or what does this mean? And I get it. And full disclosure for listeners, I've already talked to Jaime about, I was talking about Descartes' meditations and dualism and the separation of mind and body and automata. But really, listening to your session and thinking about AI and how I'm using it right now, still in these nascent stages of using it, I think about utility and I compare it to things like the internet, websites, and social media. And here's something that I'm really interested in is our institutions. We're marketing and communicating on behalf of our institutions, but then there's faculty and pedagogy as well. And I see an opportunity with AI for us to get right in partnership with faculty what we got wrong with the internet. What we got wrong with application development, what we got wrong with social media by it only being in the juris of the marketing and comms team.
Right. Having it be super siloed, right? Where this office is doing this and this is doing that and this is doing that.
So what I was thinking about during your session is how I've talked to some faculty at different campuses about how they're thinking about AI incorporation into curricula.
Yeah.
What I want to see is the partnership over coming up with the frameworks and the efficacious uses of AI in a way that breaks down those silos that we have currently over so many tactical things that we do.
Yes.
I really do think that we can right some wrongs here.
Yeah.
Using technology. And that's cool because we're at this salient moment where our marketing professionals are asking the same questions and going down the same avenue of using these frameworks and platforms that faculty are.
Right. We're all at the baby stage, right? It's all in the infancy.
And the field is kind of leveled in a way that you don't have to have a PhD to be original and useful and helpful with this technology. And I would love to see a session from faculty at CUPRAP.
That would be amazing. I mean, there are some really cool faculty on my campus doing some really neat stuff with it and figuring out, I'm going to be teaching a class this fall at West Virginia University, and they're asking me to kind of talk through how AI can fit across the curriculum so that we're not doing what we did in the early 2000s of isolating. There's a social media class. Right? You're taking a class in social media, but social media needed to be across the whole mix of marketing. And so how can we have AI be across the whole mix of marketing and everything that we do and use it as the tool that it is? And you can avoid those sort of ethical challenges of like, I'm using somebody else's work when you're using it for things that automate processes, that make things easier, that let you brainstorm, that let you do fresh ideas on new takes on things, a brainstorming partner. And you're not necessarily using it to create art, if that makes sense. But then you have things like Adobe, which has tools where they have the permission of artists to use their imagery to help build AI versions of images and stuff. That takes that ethical issue out of the table as well.
Yeah. You've given a lot of thought to this, and I really liked how even on your Slack channel, you'll give the tip of the day.
Right.
And again, this reminds me, we didn't have Slack then, of how things were. I was the first wave of social media managers in higher ed. It was very much like this. It's very, very similar. I do believe the platforms will come and go, but the ethos, the idea of something that can be useful. Like, think about this. I was just lamenting, because I've been tweeting from the CUPRAP account and from my personal account, and people are not on X anymore. So what are we talking about then? We're having conversations about where are we going to go now? Because the ethos is not going to change. That sharing that we had at conferences on Twitter and how I think you and I connected, there's going to be more, because we've already learned the utility of see, I'm going to get philosophical. There's the affect of the thing itself.
Right.
The thing itself is platform agnostic.
Exactly. It's the connection.
Yeah, it's the connection. So that's what I'm excited about. I hear a lot about existential threat, but your example, not everything needs to be an existential threat. That's a great headline. But we are at the point where this is shaping the future, and I'm glad that this is part of the conversation. And really, this is the biggest conversation at this conference right now. What have people been asking you?
Well, I find that the biggest question is how do you get your staff to overcome the intimidation factor? Because like I mentioned in my talk, it's just this blank screen, right? When you log into ChatGPT, it's just a blank screen that's like, ask me a question. And the whole notion of prompt engineering is such an intimidating sounding term for a creative.
Right.
Right?
It doesn't need to be, though.
No.
I was just in an archives on a college campus because I do brand work. The best stuff is in the archives. And I actually had this moment where I was working with the archivist and I was like, these are prompts.
Yeah. I love that.
I'm not writing them, but it's the same kind of process. So actually, I think that creative people, I would hope that you can feel empowered because your domain expertise is actually going to make you a better prompt engineer. It's like one of the few times as a writer by trade first, I'm like, I have talent
that I can use. Yeah.
Baseline. It's knowing how to communicate clearly, right?
That's the whole thing. Prompt engineering is just communicating something, right? You're just figuring out how to break down what you want into steps, essentially. So as part of our talk, we developed a custom GPT. You saw how easy that is.
Yeah, it was awesome. I've not seen that at a conference yet. Somebody creating a custom GPT on the spot in front of a packed room.
And we had, 15 minutes left in our talk when we built that out. I mean, there was intentionality. When you're creating a custom GPT, you have to have some intentionality as you develop it. But building it, that was 5 minutes.
So how does it feel for you? I'm just going to take control of this interview. How does it feel for you?
Yeah.
You're putting yourself out there talking about this. How's this different for you than putting yourself out there talking about some things in the past? Because I can see the passion.
Yeah. To me, it's like what you said. I feel like I'm on the front end and I have a voice this time. Because when it was social media, I was early enough in my career and I did give some talks on it, but I was early enough that I didn't have the credibility, right? And with the internet, I was in college, so I wasn't there for when the publicly available internet kind of came out. And so this is the opportunity to be a voice in the room. But also one of the things I love about Mallory and I, and you'll notice we very intentionally dressed very femininely today. There's actually not a ton of women talking about this yet. And that's something where I'm I want to be a female voice on this topic. You know what I mean? The AI summit in October that I took part in, I was the only woman of 10 speakers. And it's no, we need to have the ladies in on this. We need to own that,
Here.
Yeah. But I love that CUPRAP was open to us, coming in and doing this talk and giving this custom GPT. I mean, seeing everybody in the room taking pictures of it was it's amazing. And it's so much easier than you think. It just needs somebody to demystify it.
Judging just the tone in the room, the excitement in the room, the amount of phones that were taking pictures. I think next year at this conference, we've got 2 sessions this year. There's your session, and then we've got our closing keynote with Will Reynolds and Voltaire from Carnegie. I think we'll have many more sessions. I think that this could be a whole conference on its own.
Absolutely.
And I'm really excited about the possibilities in general. Again, I have to go back to how we got things wrong with social and web.
Yeah.
And I really think that this is, a fulcrum we could use to kind of walk across the lines and work more together in an integrated way.
I love that.
And not just with doubt. Doubt's good.
Yeah.
Doubt's a great thing.
Doubt makes you better, right?
I mean, Descartes said, to think is to doubt.
Right. You're a philosophy major, right?
Can you tell? But I mean, I love this stuff. I could talk about it all day.
Yeah.
I'm talking to everybody I can, asking for advice.
Yeah.
I was just sitting with Zach McGroarty, he's a fellow board member, asking him to show me how he writes custom GPTs, because I had just gotten out of your session. And I want to be able to do some things to help me with some of my brand research. Because I'm using GPT, and I do feel like to some extent I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall, but I don't feel like I'm fumbling around so much as like failing forward.
Absolutely.
That's kind of exciting.
I am so thrilled about like the way that Chat GPT in particular can be like a playground. I created a graphic that I posted on LinkedIn earlier this week. And the first version using my first prompt was crap. It wasn't anything that I needed. And it was like, you just try new things, try new things, try new things. And there was something Mallory Wilsey had said that I was like, well, let me try that into the prompt. And there was something like, I love William Morris wallpaper, right? And so I was like, well, what if I add in like, do it in the style of William Morris? Well, that didn't get me what I wanted. But then I was like, well, what about something more mid-century modern? Let me try throwing that in. And suddenly I got to where I wanted to be, right? And it turned out perfect. But you have to get rid of that intimidation factor and just play, right? It's just playing.
It's being a student. We're students again. This reminds me of when I was an undergraduate studying philosophy. I didn't ever feel like I was getting it. I was getting it though, because the point was to go through the process. Or as a writer, as a communicator, that iteration, yes, you can feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but everyone is in the same spot. This is never going to happen again with this. The platforms will change again. The ethos of something that can be a helpful tool is not going to go away.
No. And I love that we're only going to get smarter every day. The tools are only going to get better every day. We're only going to get better at using the tools every day. And I'm so excited to see in like 2, 3, 5, 7 years, what do things look like? And you and I could have a whole philosophical conversation about like, what's the future of work? And what does this mean for our society as a whole? That maybe is outside the parameters of the podcast, but yeah.
But people have been asking the same question, getting back to Descartes. Descartes was saying, how do I know that there's not an automaton? It's dualism, separation of mind and body. To think is to doubt. We are thinking this through together. And a healthy dose of doubt is actually kind of helpful. Because in your session today, I guarantee you there was at least a handful of people who are like, I've never attempted to even dip my toes into these waters. I'm going to.
Yeah. I'm going to try something. And I think opening up the possibilities of what you can use the tools for, because at first I thought this is just for generating content for a website, which is helpful and great. But being able to dump your meeting notes into it and say, generate a to-do list out of this, like just there's no limit to what you can do with it. You just have to play. You just have to play and try.
Yeah. And we're going to find out other uses that can be beneficial in ways that we can't even fathom right now. But we're not going to get there without trying.
No.
And we're in a spot right now where somebody like you who's at that C-suite level can learn things from somebody who's right out of college and an entry-level job. And that's a beautiful thing.
It is. It's a magical time.
Learning, I mean, isn't that why we do what we do?
It is. Why would we be in higher ed without it?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. It's on brand, James.
I know, right? and we're higher ed marketers. We should be on brand. Well, thank you so much, Joe. This has been a great conversation. Where can people find you?
You can find me. Our website at RW Jones is rwjonesagency.com. I'm Joseph J. Master on X for at least right now.
Right.
And you can find me on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. And you always know where you can find me, folks. Jaime Hunt, IMC on X. Jaime Hunt on LinkedIn. And as always, let's go use some AI to bust some silos.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye. Confessions of a Higher Ed CMO is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month. We've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our shows help higher ed marketers and admissions professionals find their next big idea and feature a selection of the industry best as your host. Learn from Mallory Wilsey, Seth Odell, Jenny Lee Fowler, Eddie Francis, and so many other of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.